Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our 2026 NFL Draft Preview Show. Along with Joey Clinkscales, Brian LeBel, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to thank you for being a part of the show. Today, we're going to look at a couple of University of Tennessee stars. We're going to talk about a cornerback and a wide receiver, and we're going to look at them very specifically about where they would fit in the 2026 NFL Draft. The first one is Jermod McCoy. Joey, here's a guy that you've seen play. He's a Tennessee Volunteer. You obviously have your heart and soul as a part of that organization. That's where you went to school. So you take this pretty personally, I would imagine. You're very skeptical about everybody. You have to impress. You have to show what you got. But you're not hard to impress. It's not impossible. But there's some good things that both of these young men have. Let's start with Jermod McCoy. He's 6 feet, 193. He ran a 4.52 40. Not blazing fast, but what I was finding in him, he's a Texas kid out of high school. He was a three-star guy. He ends up going to Oregon State. He transfers to Tennessee. He becomes a Vol, plays in the playoff last year, but he has an ACL injury, and that to me is just a glaring red flag. Tell me everything about this young man outside of the knee injury that impresses you as a general manager, as a former scout, as a guy he's a plug-and-play, NFL-ready type cornerback. There's not a whole lot that he needs to work on. Yes, obviously there's some fine-tuning, but everything about him right now is he's big enough, he's fast enough, he's strong enough, he has the heart, and he also has the desire. There's a lot of really cool things about him from a personality prospect. Tell me where I'm missing something.
Well, I'm going to give you some critical factors that I saw in this player. First of all, he has good football play speed, so I'm not sure the 4.52 is accurate. I think he plays faster than that. I'd be surprised if that were the time, at least when he's completely healthy. He's a tough kid, despite being, you look at him, he looks a little narrow in his upper body and his lower body. He's not afraid of contact. You see him come up and he attacks people in his lower body. He's not afraid to tackle. And I was with a coach one time, and his thing was, I don't need my cornerback to be a trained killer. He doesn't need to knock guys out. He doesn't need to lay wood on guys. He just need to hold them up until the cavalry gets there. Till the linebackers are coming, the safeties are coming, and this guy will do that. Now, they don't teach in college football or pro football. Nobody freaking wraps up anymore. So that's a whole different question. But he's not afraid to put his shoulder in there, make contact with guys. So I'm impressed with the toughness that he showed on tape. He also has really good hands and ball skills. You can see him track the ball just like he's a receiver. You can tell at some point he probably played baseball, because that's the one thing. I had a director, Dick Haley, who I've mentioned before. He used to love receivers, defensive backs that played baseball, because he felt like in the deep part of the field, they knew how to track the ball down. This guy can track the ball with his eyes. He has a good feel. He doesn't panic in contested ball situations, and those are the things you like. And he's got good hands to intercept the ball, and it comes pretty easily to him. And one of the real things I like his ability in press coverage, and press man-to-man coverage. He's not afraid to put his hands on players, to get physical with them at the line of scrimmage, but then to run with those guys. So he's always in phase running with guys, and when they put their hands up, he's able to turn around, locate the ball. Even if he doesn't find it in flight initially, he's able to locate the ball and make a play on the ball. So he possesses a lot of tools that a lot of NFL teams will like, because he's athletic, because he has a short burst. His technique and press coverage is pretty good. And despite his build, he has a level of physicality that a lot of teams will like. Does he need to improve? Of course, they all need to improve. His eye discipline needs to improve sometime. Not that he's getting beat because of his eye discipline, but the fact that he could actually locate the ball quicker in flight sometime, instead of the guy catching the ball and then him trying to swat it away. So there are a lot of things he can improve, but I could see why this guy will be a early pick if he's healthy, which he was able to come back this year. He could have come back in the middle of the season, but he chose not to. He practiced all year for the most part, but he chose not to return once they were they knew they weren't going to the playoffs. He decided not to come back. He didn't want to come back to play and then go to a bowl game. If they were going to the playoffs, I think he would have come back. And we have to understand that this guy's only 20 years old. He won't be 21 until I think August. So all those things weigh in his favor, especially from an injury standpoint. Coming back, the younger you are, the more likely you are to rehab from an injury quicker.
Yeah, and it was a pretty serious injury, Brian. But one of the things Joey mentioned is that press coverage. You see a lot of that at the SEC level, going against some of the best receivers and playing against some of the higher quality defensive backs that are in the nation. And he was able to do it with the best of them, right? And highly ranked for obvious reasons. What sticks out in your mind's eye?
Kind of just the playmaking, the ability to get, put his head on a swivel, turn around, locate the ball. And I mean, his bread and butter was, if you watch his highlights, he's making plays in the red zone, right? He's taking the ball away, the one-on-ones. He's winning a lot of those. He's doing it against, different kinds of receivers. He's going to line up against your team's number one. And I don't think there's any fear in this guy's eyes. It's almost like he's daring you to throw the ball his way, right? He wants to make a play. He wants to have an opportunity to go out there and maybe try to make an interception and turn it around. So if you watch him now, obviously he didn't play this year, so that kind of hurts him. But if you're going to miss an entire season and then go pro after that, it says a lot about you, because it shows how high every single GM is going to hold him as far as, hey, we think this might be the best kid in the class, regardless of the fact he didn't play, because you can watch his 2024 tape and it's spectacular. And we understand that that's the player we're getting. The ACL injury obviously is concerning, but you almost want that to happen with a younger player, right? I mean, like Joey said, he's barely 20 years old. So his recovery was really quick. He's fully healthy. I expect him to have a great combine, and I wouldn't be surprised if this kid's going to be early on a lot of mock drafts, especially if a team is in desperate need of a cornerback.
Joey, is he that good to where I don't need to see a full year's worth of a 19-year-old kid or somebody who just turned 20? This was fine, but when you throw in that ACL, now I'm wondering, could I pass on this kid and go with another guy that I know runs about the same speed? He may not have gone to an SEC school, but at least I know what I'm getting with a guy that doesn't have an injury versus an ACL, and not seeing this young man get tested at the SEC level and being able to put anything on film. Do you wait till the third or fourth round, or nope, we're going to take him because we still think he's the best one on the board?
No, well, it's not like he's walking into the combine injured. You know what I mean? So he could have come back like week 7 of the season, week 7 or 8. So he was ready to play from the injury. So, and he's been working, and really the scouts, if everybody's doing their due diligence, they're going to look at the practice tape. They're going to come in and say, okay, we're going to look at this practice tape, and we're going to look at this guy moving around, and we're going to see when he was able to come back, what he looked like physically, his ability to cut, his ability to practice with the team, what he was able to do. And then he's going to have the individual workouts. The coaches are going to come in and work him out. He's going to work out at the combine. So if that's your guy, then, that's your guy. I'm not concerned. I would be concerned if he played a lesser competition and played average. He played at the best competition and played an elite level of football at cornerback versus some of the best receivers in the country. And you can watch any game. It was Alabama and Ryan Williams last year, when Ryan Williams was really a good player, not the Ryan Williams you see today. But it's amazing some of the stuff he was able to do last year when he was playing. So I don't think, if anything, I think they will say that's a year less of wear and tear on his body physically, especially if he can come back and he's in shape and he runs a 4.4, and if he's taking care of his body, he's been in the weight room, he's rehabbed the leg, and I don't think it'll hurt his draft stock.
Okay, very interesting perspective there, because there's the other side that I know that the copycat league of the National Football League is, if I don't like him, nobody else is going to like him. But if I do like him, it's because everybody else does. And there's a scare tactic that comes into it, and all the games that are played. I'm just saying from a injury perspective, and not seeing him on the field playing at the highest level. But if the practice, especially at that level, and we're going to talk about one of the receivers that he went against almost every day in practice. So that'll be an interesting perspective. One of the things that impressed me, Brian, was he's rarely fooled against double moves. And that's something that instinctively can happen. He decreases the separation because he's so good at anticipating when somebody's going to make a move, and he guesses right more often than not. And he's a violent fighter on the field. Those are things that you either have it or you don't. I mean, he's just got a lot of toughness in him that I really appreciate. Yes, there are some weaknesses, and as Joey said, a lot of players, of course, they got to get better. So there'll be some weaknesses that he has to work on. But give me final perspective here on Jermod and what you think of this young Tennessee cornerback.
I think he's got great feet. He's got good hips too. I think that's part of it. Is he's got good discipline. Obviously understands what he's looking for when he's watching a receiver, watching their movements, watching where they're going. He's very confident. If you watch him play, it's almost like he knows what you're going to run, and he says, "I'm going to beat you to the spot." He did it. There were a couple plays I watched in 24, the tape against Florida, where he had a huge breakup on a 4th down play, where he beat the receiver to the spot on a slant. He said, "I know where the ball's going, and I'm going to beat you there, and I'm going to make a play. I'm either going to pick it off, or I'm going to knock it down," and he did. And I think you have to have that mentality. Like I'm not going to compare him to Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey has that mindset where he's like, I'm better than this guy. I know where he's going. I'm going to make a play. And it's just, you see some of that in him when you watch him play. He's very confident in how he plays on the field. And like Joey mentioned earlier, he's not afraid of contact. He'll initiate too. Maybe you don't want your DB to make a bunch of tackles, but it's not necessarily him doing that. It's him saying, "Hey, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to stick my nose in the football and make sure this guy doesn't make a catch. And we'll go again on the next down," and make the quarterback second guess going in there, right? Throwing in these tight windows and throwing the ball in my direction, which I think all of those things translate over to playing DB at the next level. And the best quarterbacks can do all of those things.
Well, Jermod McCoy, ladies and gentlemen, he's 6 feet. He's 193. I know Joey says a 4.52 is probably a little slow for what we have for him. He wore number 3 while he was at the University of Tennessee, and he might be a first-round draft pick. Next guy we're going to look at is another Tennessee Volunteer. This is going to be Chris Brazzell, the second. He wears number 17, running 4.48, 6'5". So he is at an elite level, the biggest of the wide receivers coming out this year, 200-pounder. He also is a junior coming out early. 62 receptions for over 1,000 yards, 16.4 per reception, 9 touchdowns this year. Didn't play in the bowl game across the street from you, Joey, but this young man from Midland, Texas, he went to Tulane for a couple years and then ends up transferring, wanted to get himself into the limelight, so to speak. He picks the University of Tennessee, and I know you as a volunteer are glad he did so.
Of course I am. And ironically, I had his father as a player with the New York Jets. We brought him in with the New York Jets, and I can remember we drafted him late from a small school. I think a small school in Texas. We took him, and he was a decent player. His dad played a couple of years in the NFL with the Jets and the Cowboys, and then played a few years up in Canada. And he was a receiver as well. He was not as tall as Chris. His dad was like 6'1", maybe 6'2". But lineage matters, and he was this guy was well taught because he's a guy. He's got a long frame, as you can see. He's got really good hands and ball skills. He tracks the ball really well. He's not the most sudden guy from an explosion standpoint. He's a build-up speed guy, and again, we're saying 4.48. I would be surprised if this guy didn't run a low 4.4. Some of the things I've seen, once he's a little bit of build-up speed guy because he's a little bit of a strider, but once he gets going, this guy can really move. So I would be surprised if 4.48 is accurate. I think he's going to be faster.
Joey, please forgive me, Joey. Before I move on to Brian, I want to ask you a real quick question. Former NFL player and teammate of mine, Bobby Butler, his son Bryce ends up going to San Diego State. He was at USC. He plays in the league for a couple of years. And I said, "What is 4.5 speed for you?" He goes, 4.5 like example in the high school level. He said, 4.5 in pads is where you pull away from a guy. It's not the number. It's your ability to use your speed that you've got. It's not the number. It's just what you're able to do on the field. Is there any of that that's relevant in terms of the way that you judge and you look at the number versus what a guy can do when he's in a uniform and his ability to break away from people? He may not have the fastest number that you've seen in terms of the speed, but he can play fast when he's on the field because he pulls away from other players.
So let me say this. So the numbers should be an indicator of what you see on tape. So if I'm watching the tape, I should be able to tell what this guy runs, because he carries his pass where he runs a 4.5 or he runs a 4.4. If not, then why don't you get a team full of track guys? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you got to see what you see on tape is what you believe. Now, if you see a guy that plays really fast on tape and he comes back and he runs a 4.6, you're like, wow. I mean, that sounds. I mean, we had years ago. Most of our younger viewers will have no idea the guy I'm about to mention, but there's a guy at Florida State named Peter Warwick. He was a fantastic receiver at Florida State University. I mean, he was sudden. He could drop his weight. He was a fantastic route runner. Didn't have great top end speed. He would win all the battles in college, but he didn't have great top end speed. And then when you timed him, I mean, he was anywhere between a high 4.6 and a mid 4.7, and everybody was like, ooh, you know, that kind of thing. And on the flip side of that, you have guys that run really fast, but they don't play fast. So you really want to go by what your eyes show you. If he plays fast on tape, that's more important than him running a 4.3. And I always give this analogy. If you look at the receivers in the Hall of Fame, rarely do you see any 4.3 guys in the Hall of Fame. They're all between high 4.4, mid 4.5, 4.6. I mean, Jerry Rice came out and he was a high 4.5, low 4.6 guy, and you know he's maybe the greatest receiver, at least of his generation. But then you have guys like Megatron who's 6'5" and running 4.3. So there's a variance of receivers in the Hall of Fame, but speed is only a part of their game. It's not who they are. It's just a part of what they do. It's like that puzzle you're putting together. But this kid, he's got great hands, great body control. He's a natural hands catcher, which is some of the things I like. Not the most physical guy. His physicality needs to improve from a blocking standpoint, but he'll give effort. But again, he runs well with the ball after the catch. He's not going to be sudden. He doesn't have that short burst, but he's got enough quickness to once he get on his route. And he's a pretty good route runner because he's a kid that being 6'5", you can see him in certain routes drop his weight, get in and out of breaks. So none of that's going to be a problem. But he's got deceptive long speed because he's a linear build guy. And you look at him running against some of the guys who are chasing him. You see that long stride, and you see guys taking 2 steps to his 1 step, and you realize, okay, this guy can really run.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I got the thrill of playing again, with Steve Largent, my first year that I made it in the league, and I'm watching a guy that, you know, I watch how he walks when he goes out to practice. He's not quick or anything like that, but he was quick, and his ability in running a 40, he's not going to beat a whole lot of wide receivers. He's just not. But when you watch him run a post corner or just a post, and the separation that he gets is absolutely amazing for a guy that nobody says is fast. Watch the moves.
And I'm not even going to say he's quick. He's sudden. He was able to stick that foot in the ground and get away from a suddenness standpoint where he always created separation. And you're like, well, how the heck did he do that?
Yeah. And then the DB is going, I didn't know if he was going to make his move on his 5th step, his 7th, or his 9th step, but he made it. He just made it different from what I thought he would. And he still got open. And that's the thing that matters. You know, he made himself get open, and quarterbacks threw him open a lot too. So interesting perspective. Brian, we'll talk for the whole rest of the night, not even include you at all. Tell us what you think here. Chris Brazzell, obviously a lot of great talent, a big guy. If you're looking for a number one receiver who's above 6'3", right? A guy that's going to go up and get the ball. He's your guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think, you know, Joey hit the nail on the head, but his ability to take the top off the defense, right, for his size is very impressive. Usually you see a lot of these guys, you have these 5'10", 5'11", maybe 6 foot, 6'1" guys that are, you know, they're speed demons, right? They're going to double move and try to get around a guy, but Chris has the ability to do that at 6'5". And then because he's 6'5", you know, he's able to high point the football better. Like Joey said, he's got great hands. He's a little skinny, but that's okay. You can add a few pounds here and there. They said the same thing about Tet McMillan this past year. He might be too lean coming in, and it didn't matter, right? There's a lot of these guys that they put up numbers regardless. They play really, really well despite having that, I'd like him to be 215 or 220. It doesn't matter. He's still putting up great numbers. He's still getting hit in the SEC, and he's bouncing up and he's making plays. I can't remember which year it was, but he's averaging over 16 yards a catch. That's elite level stuff, right? That's like, if you look at him, and I think he's a little bit more, I think he's going to have more catches than a guy like Jamison Williams with the Lions, but that's kind of what he reminds me of, just the ability to take the top off the defense and open everything up for everyone else. And I think he's a jack of all trades too. I think he's a very good player. I think he'd do everything pretty well. So anybody who brings him in is going to be thrilled to bring him on. And I think he's going to be an instant impact guy, which is at the receiver position. There aren't a lot of those guys that come in and are instant impact guys. And I think he has the ability to do that.
Hey, Joey, do you keep him outside, or do you move him in, you put him in motion and you kind of have him in a slot, or do you have him in a tight end kind of cross where he's in motion at the snap of the ball and he goes a deep crossing route? You have a tight end running an out behind it where you have another bigger body in the middle of the field that can, one, take the hit, and two, kind of separate linebackers and create space? Or is he just going to be an exclusive, I want to take advantage of his size versus a smaller cornerback, and we're just going to deal with it that way?
Well, I think it depends on the offense you're running. I think in the from 20 to 20, he'll probably be outside more than he's inside, depending on the tight end you have. If you don't have a great tight end, then you motion him inside and put him inside and let him work the middle of the field and run corner routes off the hash and things like that. So you're able to get him the ball, but he can turn a short play into a nice gain. I mean, I'm not going to say he has the speed to go the distance with it, but again, he's not going to be the shiftiest guy when you put him in situations like that. But he'll catch it. If he makes a guy miss, he has the ability to go the distance. But his ball skills, again, he's got his catch radius is big. So you as long as you get it by him, he's tough enough to catch the ball in traffic. So there are a lot of things to really like about this guy.
All right, well, let's look at some of the weaknesses, Brian, if you don't mind me saying so. He's leaner. He's a smaller frame, right? I'm not going to say he's weak, but he needs to add either some weight or strength, or maybe a little bit of both. But if that affects my speed, I'm not sure how I deal with that from a coaching perspective. I'd rather have him big and lean than have him bigger and be slower. I don't need another tight end or an H. He has dropped some balls. The concentration level isn't always there. Route running could be, who couldn't run better routes, right? Those are over emphasized, I think, because those are coachable things that you can work on and get better at. Are there any other things that you would say, look, before I put him in my first or second round, I would like to see fill in that blank?
I don't really think there is much, because I think the way I look at it too, for all these kids that transfer, I want to see the numbers kind of move up, right? Because going from a smaller school to Tennessee, obviously that first year, it's kind of a learning curve, right? But he improved each and every year. He got better, right? So the game came a little easier to him, right? He was a little more involved in the offense. He made some plays. I can go turn on the Georgia tape right now where half of those kids are going to be playing on Sundays in a couple years, and he looked like the best player on the field at times. So there isn't a lot that I look at that I say I need to see. Obviously, you don't want to have like a disastrous combine or anything like that, but I don't anticipate anything, I don't anticipate that happening. I've seen all I need to see. I think, the tape speaks for itself. And I think this kid has an opportunity to come in and instantly be someone's number 2 receiver, maybe be a number 1 someday, but he's going to be an excellent complementary piece coming in day one for anybody who picks him up.
Yeah, and I think his savviness, just being smart enough to sit down in the right spot in the zone. Tennessee's offense has kind of allowed him to have a little bit more of a pro style. It's not necessarily pro style because there's still that RPO aspect of it, but being able to find a spot, being able to go against a LSU or an Alabama type DB and shining with, I'm going to fight you, I'm going to get over the top and then still break it over the middle. A lot of really good talent that he has, and because of his father, he's a real, I won't call him a gym rat, if you know what I mean, but he's been around and he understands. He's got a different level of perception of how the game is played. Right, Joey?
Yeah, I think, all that plays a factor in it. But, I think the most important factor is the level of skill that he brings. Okay, it's not always the competition that he plays, because, you have guys that come from South Dakota State and places like that coming out of the league, and they play really well. And it's because of their skill level, not necessarily the people they're playing. So I think from a skill perspective, I think everything you're looking for in a receiver, from a speed perspective, from a toughness, from a ability to catch in his hands, from a route perspective, I think all those are good, and he'll will get better. My only weakness is he can improve as a blocker, which means he can probably get physically stronger. And just in comparison, the kid that we from Louisville that we looked at last week is probably a better blocker. And that's because of his body structure and his frame. But this guy will be a better natural down the field wide receiver. That kid could be more. You talked about somebody that kind of worked the middle of the field. That guy probably has a better chance of working the middle of the field than a guy like this, who will probably be outside and run over routes and those type things. So it all depends on your skill set rather than the competition. And I think his skill set is he's got a high level skill.
Yeah. And if he spends a little bit of time, big body, long arms, just learning how to grab on without holding, he could be, if he goes to Baltimore, let's say, and he's got, all of Derrick Henry looking at him like, kid, if you just hold on that block for 3 seconds more, I'm going to break it to the outside. Okay. Right. But you got to do it. He'll learn. It'll happen. So a lot of really cool things that we got to look at today. So Jermod McCoy, the 6 foot, 193-pound cornerback, and Chris Brazzell, he is 6'5", a 200-pound wide receiver, both from the University of Tennessee. We appreciate you being a part of the show, everybody. Please subscribe or tell somebody else about it. We're looking forward to growing and expanding as the year comes around. The new year is just a few days away, and we're looking to grow in so many different ways and provide some content on some of the players that you're going to be wanting to look at here in the 2026 draft for the National Football League. We're glad that we're able to bring this to you. So for Joey Clinkscales, for Brian LeBel, I want to say thank you for tuning in to 100 Yards of Football. This has been the 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show, again with Jermod McCoy and Chris Brazzell. Appreciate you being with us. Have a